So today's video is about how I woke up. What was it that made me realize that the truth was not in fact true? Because I always had questions and issues with the doctrine, as I have said in previous videos, but it was a process, and it had a lot to do with school. See, I realized that my mom did not censor books the way she did movies and TV. And I realized this early on, I was probably about 10. I could read pretty much anything I wanted to as long as the title and the cover weren't too provocative. So that is how this lifelong love affair with the written word happened. Because I read every book I could get my hands on. I read constantly and quickly because it was finally an escape from the suffocation and the constant control of my mother. I remember stealing my sister's copy of Jane Eyre. She was supposed to be reading it for 10th grade English, I think, but she shoved it under her bed, and I stole it, and I took it to school with me. I was about halfway through it, and I was in my 5th grade class. I was reading after I'd finished the assignment in class. And my teacher, who did not like me, called me out and said there was no way that I could understand that book and that I needed to stop showing off how smart I was. And I replied by telling her pretty much the story up to that point and what I thought might happen next. And she was not happy with me, but she didn't pick on me for reading anymore. See, my dad's family are all pretty much born performers, and though that's definitely not an approved career choice for Jehovah's Witness, but we did so many skits and played music at get-togethers, and my dad plays bluegrass guitar, and I sang harmony with him, and from the time I was like 3 years old. I have a tape somewhere of me singing bluegrass when I was 3 or 4. So I loved performing, and I really wanted to do it. And I sang my heart out in the chorus, even though I was supposed to sit out because most of the songs were either patriotic or holiday. And I was so mad because I couldn't take part in the best performances because of my religion. And it just became that drama and reading and music were my escapes. We didn't have any channels on TV, so I wrote songs on the piano and guitar instead of watching TV. I taught myself guitar. And I auditioned for every play the school put on, and then I begged until my mom allowed me to participate in one or two. I did end up getting to do quite a bit as I got older because I got to have horseback riding lessons and do horse shows because my mom reasoned that somebody needed to know about livestock for the new system, and because we wouldn't have cars anymore, and we'd need to know how to ride horses. And the horse shows were allowed mainly because my father was against it. I did drama in school because it was within school hours with just a few after school performances and stuff. As long as they didn't interfere with meetings and conventions, which with 5 meetings a week and 2 or 3 conventions a year, that was no small feat. But I got to do some stuff. And when I got in high school, I did a lot more because I bought my own car. And I just went where I wanted to go. See, unlike my sister, I didn't fight them. I just did what I wanted to and asked forgiveness when I had to. So I joined the debate team and the poetry club and the Spanish club at school, even though I wasn't supposed to, because I was making friends and starting to realize that worldly people weren't really like I had always been taught they were. They were actually nice people, and they were my friends, and they were my friends and not going back and gossiping about me or telling stories and getting me in trouble like my Jehovah's Witness friends. Not that I was really doing anything bad. I mean, what I was doing was debate team and poetry club and Spanish club and things like that. So I actually started going to the debates. I would sign my mom's signature and just tell her that I was going, had to work at my job or something. And I made nationals in debate during my freshman or sophomore year in high school. I can't really remember which. And my mom orchestrated this huge ordeal to tell me that I couldn't go to the actual competition. And she was in the middle of her one and only post-dad relationship. And the man in question was this newly Jehovah's Witness import from Canada who actually had 2 children that he didn't pay child support or take care of already, which was a red flag for me. And I wasn't even in the relationship. But he was interested in my mom until he realized that she didn't have money like he thought. And then he ordered a mail order bride from Russia without actually breaking it off with my mother. It was really ugly. That's another story. But anyway, my mom had him tell me that I couldn't go to nationals as the potential future head of our household. Now, I can tell you that I fairly levitated with rage. I missed the competition, and I never made nationals again. I really didn't get over it either. After that, I just forged my mom's signatures, like I said, and drove myself, and I don't think she really even knew the difference. Oh, this is Harrison. Harrison, say hi.
Hi.
Are you a sweet boy?
Yeah.
Okay, go on. Mama's making a video.
But
you what? What? Are you on? You want to be on the video? You want to be on?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking about Mama. What do you think about Mama?
Something that I always want to play with.
Mama's somebody that you want to play with?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mama's pretty fun, right?
I'm thirsty. Oh, my PJs.
Did you have fun? Did you have fun at Halloween?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Wear my costume.
You wore your costume and you went trick or treating.
I see my costume.
Yeah. Did you eat a lot of candy?
Yeah.
Was it awesome?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love you, big boy. So during high school, my mom tried all sorts of tactics to bring me closer to Jehovah and further into the truth. So when I started dating a worldly boy from school, she accepted this assignment in rural Kentucky where the need was great and forced me to pioneer full-time for the entire summer, away from my friends and my boyfriend. And I can remember standing in a payphone booth in the scalding heat, battling mosquitoes just to talk to somebody from home for a few minutes. It was awful. Toward the tail end of that summer, I started feeling really bad. And when we got home and I finally went to the doctor, he said that it was mononucleosis and I should not be exerting myself much until it ran its course. This revelation was after I had spent 3 months in 100-degree heat lugging a suitcase of books around, selling God to people. Yeah. My mom's only comments on my illness were, number one, I must be some kind of slut to have mono because it's the kissing disease. And number two, when her doctor told her a year or so later that she might have chronic fatigue syndrome, she said that it was my fault and that I had brought the germs home from my worldly friends and infected her lily white immune system with it. She turned out to have Parkinson's disease, which 20 years later she said was my fault because Jehovah was punishing her for not shunning me completely. It was assumed that as soon as I graduated from high school, I would immediately begin pioneering and that I would never see any of my worldly friends again. And the closer I got to graduating from high school, the more the terror set in because, in another video I mentioned this guy that my parents wanted me to date who was just completely, I was not attracted to him at all. The thought of pioneering just made me want to shoot myself in the face. So my decision to go to college actually happened during my senior year of high school, about 6. I had this epiphany in my English class, and I'll tell you about it in a minute. And I'd started to realize that this life that had been planned and expected for me after high school was over was not one that I could tolerate or even survive. Because I wasn't really sure that I was a believer even back then. I wanted to believe and I tried really hard, but I just didn't have it in me. And the idea of doing that full time just destroyed me. So I was sitting in my senior English class with Mr. James, who was my all-time favorite teacher in the world. He was a Vietnam veteran with this certain very subtle charisma about him. He had this really quick wit and Leroy Jethro Gibbs from NCIS with glasses. Then you've just about got Mr. James. And I adored him. in a way that I still really can't completely describe. It was not a crush. It was not like that. It was more of a father envy. It was a hero worship. I don't even know how to describe it, but I loved him and I loved his class so much. It's been like over 20 years and I still love the guy. If I saw him today, I would just hug him. So we were doing this unit on advertising and mass communication and hidden messages. And I remember him striding across the front of the classroom, just riveting oratory voice. And he talked about brainwashing and repetitive messages and things that we might not be aware of, things that we hear every day that are actually changing the way we think. And he asked if we ever had heard repetitive music in commercials or in TV or in church. And when he said church, his eyes locked onto mine and I felt the entire universe shift. He said, if you catch yourself singing the M&M's jingle or the Coca-Cola jingle or whatever, and he's still looking at me dead in the eye, he goes, that should scare you to death. And all I could think of was man and beast living in peace, cause no harm to each other. Food will be there, all will share in what our God provides. That was running through my head on repeat, and I thought, oh my God. It was terrifying and exhilarating and terrifying again, and I had to do something. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't wrong. My questions were not inspired by the devil. I was damn good at critical thinking, and I was independent, and that was okay. I was okay. For the first time in my entire life, I was okay for a minute. And I knew that I needed another plan, and I needed time to learn more, or I was going to get steamrolled into pioneering and JW marriage, and I might as well be dead. So I ran to the guidance counselor's office and literally begged for help. And I had not even heard of the SAT, which I had to take cold because I didn't have time to study. And I know now that I probably could have blown the whole thing out of the water if I had actually studied and prepared. As it was, I did okay. I get admitted somewhere, but I had nowhere near the skills I needed. I had no idea what I was getting into or how I would make it happen, but I was determined to make it to college and escape my old life at last. My family was not amused at all. So during the last part of my senior year in high school, I spent a lot of time at my worldly friends' houses and at the mall and pretty much anywhere I could, but at home, because anytime I was at home, my mother was crying and preaching and harassing the crap out of me. It reached the point where at least once a week I was ambushed by two elders from the Kingdom Hall wanting to talk to me about my chosen path in life and counsel me on what they imagined that I was doing, and I finally just started walking out on them. So I had decided that I could no longer be a Jehovah's Witness already and just hadn't made a declaration. It was great. Anyway, that's the story. That's what actually woke me up and how I started getting out.